All right, good morning. I'd like to call the May 2024 WKU Staff Senate meeting to order. Welcome to everybody joining us today, in person, on Zoom, and on YouTube. Thank you. I'll start with our roll call. Senator Bartley.
Present.
Regent Brinkley.
Present.
Senator Kanzler.
Present.
Senator Chadwick.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Finn.
Present.
Senator Gilbert.
Present.
Senator Henry.
Present.
Senator Hopwood might be engaged in commencement preparations. Senator Jenkins. Senator Johnson. Senators Jones.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Calkins.
Present.
Senator Moran.
Present.
Vice Chair Stoll.
Present.
Senator Vanderpool. Senator Vincent. And Senator Wright. Okay. Our agenda for this meeting was sent out via email. If there are any notice mistakes or changes that need to be made to that, if not, I'll ask that we accept the agenda through unanimous consent. All right, without objection, our agenda is accepted. As well, our prior monthly meeting minutes were sent out the same way. If anybody saw any changes or additions that need to be made to that. If not, I'll ask that we accept that through unanimous consent as well. Okay, those are accepted. And we'll move on to the Christopher Ware Staff Star Awards. Senator Vincent, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We've got a great crowd. Each month, the Staff Senate awards or recognizes 3 lucky staff members. So we're gonna go into our first one. Our first Christopher Ware Staff Star Award goes to Linda Cantrell, an office assistant for Housing and Residence Life. This is from her nominator. Linda is one of the first faces our students see when they enter Housing and Residence Life stores. She is also the calming voice on the other end of the phone when students and parents call with concerns. When it comes to housing, students often call in distress. Maybe they didn't get their hall of choice or they aren't getting along with their roommate. Perhaps they are mad about a bill and they are often in tears and hard to calm down. But Linda can do it. She never appears under pressure when I know she is. She handles every student like it's her own and makes them feel valued. She is genuine, care, and inclusive to all. I nominate Linda for Staff Star Award because she deserves a moment to realize how valuable she is to WKU and to her HRL team. Also speaking on behalf of Linda is Lana Kunkel, the Director of Housing and Residence Life.
Oh, you out there with me.
It's like Taurus.
So what makes Linda so wonderful and very much deserving of this nomination is she's only been back to campus for just over 14 months. So we hired her in March of 23. And we pulled her kind of from the other side of the house. So she has gotten used to very quickly what we call the student affairs side of the house and housing. And what Jenny with her nomination really highlighted so well is that she picked it up so very quickly. I mean, we're often working with 3 sets of incoming, outgoing, and current students. Over thousands of calls each day in some of our busiest seasons. And so for someone to have picked up that so quickly in such a short amount of time and been such a calming effect for our staff and our students, we just couldn't be more proud to have Linda on our staff and can't wait to see how and who she helps next. So thank you so much for all that you do. We would love to have you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Linda. Our next Christopher Ware Staff Star Award goes to Jordan Myers. Jordan is the budget specialist for kinesiology, recreation, and sport. Speaking on his behalf is Dr. Paula Upright, the director of kinesiology. Yeah.
So thank you all for being here today, and thank you guys for presenting these awards. Staff, sometimes we don't thank you all enough for all that you do, and I would like to say on behalf of the faculty and the group in KRS, we like to recognize and celebrate our staff. So thanks to this group for doing that, and congratulations to the other award winners here today as well. Some of the same things that were said about you, I'm going to say about Jordan. He's been with the School of KRS for a short time, just this year, and he jumped into a very demanding role, a large unit, managing all things budget, which we know how much fun that is. And he's our budget specialist and handles anything from helping faculty with travel to our large, we have quite a lot of grant activity. So he manages anything from the day-to-day travel expenses, faculty and students, and our grant activity as well. So Jordan, in a short time, has made an immediate impact for us. He's the guy that I go to with questions sometimes, and he will look at me and say, I have no idea. And I appreciate that because I know he'll go and get an answer. He's the guy that will pick up the phone and call anybody on campus. Probably many of y'all have heard him before if you haven't heard from him. And I really appreciate that he does that. And he always comes back with an answer and is always very helpful. And you never, it never seems to bother him. People are in his office constantly, and he's always willing to help us all out. So he's also, you have to stay on your toes because he will be quick-witted and have a corny joke. And you better be ready to laugh at that, or a quote on his door. My favorite for the year was, believe in yourself, even when no one else does. Sasquatch. That sums up on fire. So thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
On this to me.
Now on just Jordan's.
Jordan is here.
Jordan show.
Yeah, all right, well, there are 3 of us in the room today, the other Jordan's on the other side of the phone.
Really?
Lots of good.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next Christopher Ware Staff Star Award goes to Ashley Thompson. She is a specialist for the Learning Center. Speaking on her behalf is Heather Stewart, Assistant Director of Retention Programs in ACDC.
Thank you for joining me to recognize Ashley. In her role as the specialist for the Learning Center, she provides these essential academic support services that help students pass their courses and ultimately graduate from WKU. There's so much that I could say about Ashley in this time, but to summarize, she's very hardworking, thoughtful, diligent, kind, patient, and detail-oriented. One project that she's been working on over these past few months is to completely redesign our student employee training so that it aligns with the best practices set forth by the National Learning Center organization. It has been a long, challenging project, and Ashley's been tackling it with enthusiasm. One of the things that I'm most impressed about is her ability to really build relationships with the student employees. She's constantly building those connections and helping them identify how their current role as a student employee can benefit them long-term moving forward, even after they graduate. Ashley is an essential part of the Advising and Career Development Center team and the WKU family. Please join me in congratulating her on winning the Staff Star Award.
Thank you all for joining us. Seems like we have some really good staff members that were nominated today. So thank you all for being here, and we appreciate your nominations. Thanks.
Big crew.
I know.
All right, we will move on to our reports. First up, Regent Brinkley.
Okay, we've got the you're gonna do that before I do that. Okay, quarterly, the second quarterly meeting, it's a full meeting, tomorrow at noon in, the boardroom. Sorry, I'm catching up here. There are 7 action items on the academic affairs agenda. Several of those are similar to the last committee meeting. There are 3 that are new. There's an undergraduate certificate in sport, media, and communication, undergraduate certificate in artificial intelligence and analytics, and some emeritus appointments that will come up that were not mentioned in the committee meetings last month. Also on finance and budget, we will see standard approval of personnel actions. And then there'll be a approval of revenue and expenditures. We've analyzed that, we've looked at the tracking of it, and it seems to be in a place right now where the goals of not overstepping too much are in reach. If we can finish strong, I think that's a good sign. The faculty region, I had a meeting with that staff, the SOF staff, Susan and Ronaldo and Brian yesterday. And they've been monitoring that constantly. You know, we bring up questions where we hear rumors, and I just think that if the university, when it presents the budget in June for approval, does not overstep the revenue that's a potential. So, you know, we look at common sources of revenue. This is part of the, I'm gonna give this as part of the report because it's one of my last meetings. You know, you've got tuition increase that can be approved by CPE. This year we can do a 2%. You have increased enrollment. I think the number they're budgeting for right now is 29-25 for the fall. If that comes in hotter than that, that's good. If it comes in at that, it's good. The other sources can be the increased state appropriation. I think there's about a $3.4 million increase based on inflationary adjustments. Even though the numbers from the state are high, we talk about the ones that affect the budget directly, and that's one that affects the budget directly. And then the last one is really, if you look at any differentials, they would be how many students are getting the benefits of scholarships. And if that reduces at all, then some of the rules or procedures are changed. That makes for higher net gains. So the idea would be, if the university, at least for me, would be if the university can balance the increase in revenue, what will probably be additional costs related to benefits. I'm not on that committee, so I don't say that definitively. But if I look at the University of Kentucky and other examples in our region, we see an increased benefits cost, because healthcare costs are a struggle right now for a lot of different institutions. And then the commitment that the president has said out loud of a 2% pool every year, if that's possible. If the university does not commit to overextend itself beyond what could be the revenue streams, I think potentially 25 could be balanced. I don't want to say that too loudly, because part of the problem they ran into last year was an amount of spending that took place in this quarter that really caused some issues that we're still kind of paying for. I did stress that, you know, in my opinion, I think that if you have a responsible area, that could be an academic unit, a division, a unit, that those units should not be individually held responsible for an act of another unit. So how they address that will really be up to them. But we didn't see anything unusual in the financial statements coming up. There really wasn't a budget update because that budget's not ready. It probably won't be. I can tell you all that we have these kind of 2-person budget meetings because we can't meet in groups of 3 where it's an official meeting. I mean, that's the truth. It's not, I'm not making that up. And mine with Doris Thomas, Regent Thomas, is not until May 31st. So that'll be my first real budget update. The budget we vote on June 7th. So that'll be the kind of time that we have to kind of go over that. There'll be a legislative update from Jennifer Smith. It'll be the final legislative update of the year. And then there are 2 executive action items. There are none under student affairs, but the executive items are really 2 approvals of contracts. One is for the newly hired basketball coach, and the other one is for renewal of an employment contract with the general counsel, Andrea Anderson. So other than that, it's a pretty standard meeting. These meetings in the past in May, if we look at the May, June, and August cycle of meetings, those are the ones where a lot of information and there are a lot of action items. Now in August, Jennifer Hammonds, who's joined us in the back of the room, will be taking over as the staff regent. And she has been, since really the election, has been part of kind of a behind the scenes, getting her up to speed, getting her agendas and talking to her. She's met with the faculty regent as well. He'll have an additional 2 years before his second term expires, so she'll work closely with Shane moving forward. And I will say, this is my next to last meeting here, so I can say this. We did not have a great relationship with the faculty regent, necessarily a good collaborative relationship before Shane Spiller came on board. There's been some back and forth over several years. And it really was finding that we could work together better than separately. So I really encourage that because it kind of catches everybody off guard and we walk into the meetings very well informed, and well read on it. So I think that that's been a very valuable tool for us. And then being able to tag team on committees like finance and budget. It's not that we're catching people doing things wrong, it's that everybody's more prepared to answer questions. And they stay on top of the things that they see the staff and the faculty are really concerned about. So I've been really pleased with how that's worked, and I know Jennifer will be outstanding in this role and will be an outstanding advocate, not just for the staff, but remember the primary role of this is to be a fiduciary to make sure that the university isn't living outside of its means and do what's in the best interest of the school and the campus. I will add that there are 27 faculty members that will come up for tenure and promotion. I think this is important. The president has mentioned this in meetings. I know none of us are necessarily faculty, but it's worth mentioning that 13 will be promoted to associate professor, 2 for pedagogical associate professor, 9 full professor, 1 senior instructor, and 2 instructor 2s. I mean, that's really important. It's important that that process move forward. And there's a good number this year. 27 is a strong number, and I'm very proud of those individuals, along with staff. But these are ones that will be called out because remember, as an academic institution at heart, these are big promotional steps for that group. So it's been a pleasure, you all. If you have any questions, I will always answer my phone. And if you don't have my cell number, come see me.
Thank you. Senator Vincent,
I have a report.
Senator Henry,
Treasurer report for May. Nothing new. Starting balance, $3,668. Ending balance, $3,668. No additions, disbursements. Words. For our regular index, the Staff Senate Excellence Fund had an addition of $18.35. Starting balance, $2,052.47. Ending balance, $2,071.82. Man, I need more work at me. The book scholarship, starting balance, $1,699.84, addition of $10. Ending balance, $1,709.84. Let's see the Bible.
thank you. Senator Gilbert. Thank you. Senator Moran,
No report.
Vice Chair Stoll.
No report.
Thank you. For my report, make a note that the BEC made a salary pool recommendation to executive leadership, and that was accepted. So at our last meeting, we talked about a special election. Exact dates that are still pending. We'll send out an announcement along with the forms to either self-nominate or for someone to nominate you. You'll see the other instructions outlined on that guidelines for the election. The expectation is that will occur inside of the month of May. to give, any successful candidates the opportunity to know a little bit and plan for our June fifth meeting. And that's my next item. Our June fifth meeting, is where we have our large workshop. So your calendar invite for that for, current, and I think I also included, future members, on that, is a little bit longer because we'll be here for the regular 10 a.m. meeting, and then we'll have, we'll go out to lunch and then come back and have a workshop where we talk about, several things, how the Senate works, answer questions, make sure everybody knows it's okay to ask questions after that day and keep learning about the processes. We also will have, officer and co-chair elections. I think it's important that everybody understands that each year, each fiscal year, those positions are renewed, people rerun. So, none of those are multi-year positions. So, that's something to think about and ask questions in the meantime of current officers or current members, or for me, I'm happy to answer any questions about positions. But they're all open. So that's, all the individuals you serve reports from, except for David. Jennifer's already got that one locked down, so sorry. But, the communications, technology, treasurer, secretary, vice chair, chair, and parliamentarian, along with co-chairs for each of the committees, will be things that we decide at our June fifth, workshop. So feel free to ask any questions about those, and think about different ways you want to enhance your service in the staff senate. So, we'll move on to old business. If anybody has any old business for the Senate. Okay, any new business? Anything that anybody wants to bring up or a question or anything like that? Okay.
Continue to meet with the president once more?
Yeah, we had a meeting last Monday. A lot of that conversation was around the state budget that had closed and a little bit of the BEC process. And then any other? Okay, then we reserve time for public comment. So if any member of the public wants to address the Senate. All right, so as noted, our next meeting is slotted for 10 a.m. back in this room and on Zoom and on YouTube on June 5th. And we also will have, following that later in the day, we'll have our FY25 Staff Senate Workshop. Without objection, we will be adjourned.